cared about was what? Ourselves and our lifestyle. It's not a good lifestyle. Okay? Yeah.
Every day I try to read in the morning Proverbs.
Yeah. Proverb a day, yep.
Proverbs 15:10 I read. I remember it kind of hit me. Stern, because of 15. March. Stern discipline awaits him who leaves the path. He who hates correction will die.
Yep. He who hates correction will die. When you look at the words ways in our text and the word paths, you put those two together and it speaks of how someone lives. That's what the psalmist is getting at here. So he's asking us today, how are we living today? How are we living tomorrow, next week, next month, this year? It's a lifestyle, people. Never forget that. It's a characteristic of one's lifestyle. That's what he's getting at here. The psalmist desired to live a godly life and to walk the righteous path. That's the way to go. Notice in the psalm here, his prayer is that the Lord would teach him godly ways and godly path so that he could walk accordingly. And I think that's a good thing, don't you? Remember, walking the righteous path is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I like the state motto of Hawaii. I can't pronounce this very well, but I'll try. The state motto of Hawaii is Ua Maya Kia Okea Anaya Ai Ka Pono. All right?
Just made that up, which means...
I made that up. Yeah. No. It's been the motto of Hawaii for over 160 years. And it was adopted May 1st, 1959. And it was... The saying came from the influence of Protestant missionaries who first came to Hawaii in 1820. The word means the life of the land is perpetrated in righteousness. Now that's a good saying. All right? The life of the land is perpetrated in righteousness. So in other words, they wanted their country and their citizenship and their lifestyle, they wanted to live a righteous way, the righteous life. At least that's what they attempted. Okay? Because that's what the Protestant missionaries were teaching. They were presenting the gospel, people were getting saved, and they were saying, now you're to live a righteous life. You're not going to worship those false gods anymore. You're not going to worship all those false deities that that island has. No, you're going to live a righteous life now. Your lifestyle's different. The prayer of the psalmist was that he would learn godly ways, God's path, and that he would continually perpetrate that walk. So that's very good. Now, this is also taught in the New Testament. Titus chapter 2, verse 12. Look at Titus chapter 2 and verse 12. Titus chapter 2, verse 12 says, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, notice it, righteously and godly in the present age. That's good advice. That's very good advice. The psalmist desired to be taught how to live such a life. We as believers need to try to walk that same life. Why don't we do it? Well, that's the wrong question. What stops us from doing it? We all want to do it. That's why I rephrase it. Everyone in this room has a heart's desire to walk a good life, right? To walk a right. We all desire that. What hinders us from doing it?
Things.
Huh?
Things.
Things? Okay. Yeah, yeah, they can become idols in our life. Yep, things. Could be anything. Could be husband, wife, our toys, our gadgets, job, money. We spend more time doing that than we do walking the Christian walk. Basketball, you know.
Two people came up with that.
It could be anything. Yeah.
Everything that's pushed on us, whether it's through TV, advertising on radio, advertising on billboards, advertising on doors, is all for the most part for evil.
Yeah.
Or for bad things. There's very little that's advertised that's righteous.
I know.
Very little.
It all appeals to the flesh.
Right.
You know, and I think some of it is fear too. I think that those of us that have grown up in the church, you might be afraid, if I say yes to this, Lord, what are you going to make me do next? You know, I mean,
That could be.
you know, if I surrender my control over that, I mean, even though in our inner self we know He's in control, but if we say yes to Him in one area, I think there are people that are afraid that He's going to say, go to
Deep parts of Africa.
yeah, Zimbabwe, and you won't have a flush
Yeah.
toilet anymore, Kathy.
Yeah.
And I'd say, oh no, that's not out.
Exactly.
I'll get to you.
They went, Zimbabwe.
Yeah. And what's interesting, most of the time, God doesn't do that. All He's looking for is what? He's just looking for a surrendered heart. That's all He's looking for. You know?
Well, you have in this room 10 or 12 different individuals, each with different character traits
Yeah.
or bents that we all have. And I think that we're kind of born with them. I mean, we see it when we raise our kids. And that's, you know, like sin is crouching at the door, you must master it.
Yeah. And that's it. Sin crouches at the door. That's good. That falls into my illustration here. Listen to this illustration. It is said that when the emperor arrested Christendom, who was a great Christian, suffered greatly for the Lord, he arrested Christendom and tried to make him recant. And he shook his head. The emperor said to his guards, "Throw him into prison." "No," said one of the guards. "He'll be glad to go there, for he delights in the presence of his God in quiet." "Well, execute him," said the emperor. The guard said, "He'll be glad to die," said the soldier, "for he wants to go to heaven. I heard him say so the other day." Then the emperor says, "So then what do I do with this guy?" The guard said, "There's only one thing that can give Christendom pain." And the emperor says, "What's that?" The guard said, "That is to make him sin. He said he was afraid of nothing but sin. If you can make him sin, you will make him unhappy." What an illustration. See, his whole life, you study his life, he walked the righteous path and he feared sinning against God. And if he did, he was most unhappy. I could be wrong in saying this, but I think the average Christian today doesn't care if he sins against God or not. I don't think they care. If we walked with that much fear, we wouldn't do half the things we do, think to half the things we think. Because we're afraid we're going to hurt God, and that happens. The psalmist said here, our prayer should be that God would teach us His ways and His paths. And that should bring us great happiness. But if we don't go down the righteous path and be taught God's ways and God's path, I'm going to tell you what, you're going to be miserable. Amen? I'll say it 100,000 times before I die. I believe the most miserable person on planet Earth is a backslidden Christian.